Hello guys, and welcome back to my channel. This is Miss Pick Clothing, and today we are going to be making a pint pattern, a trouser pattern, however you wish to call it. This is very much beginners friendly, and I would advise you watch this video to the end, because at the end of this video you would have learned a thing or two about how to cut a pant pattern for yourself or how to cut a trouser pattern for yourself. So guys, stick around with me and don't forget to subscribe, give my video a thumbs up, and turn on the bell icon there so that whenever I upload a new video you'll be the first to be notified. Let's get into the cutting proper. So to begin with the cutting of this trouser pattern or pant pattern, however you want to call it, I'm going to be taking my hip measurement, my hip length. I'm using 7, then my crotch length I'm using 9, my knee measurement I'm using 24, then the overall length. I'm going to replicate the same measurement on this side. So if you're wondering how I got my crotch length or crotch line, just sit on a hard surface, a hard chair, and then measure from the waist down to the chair level. Then at this point, I divided my pattern paper into 2 because I intend to cut the back and the front on same pattern paper. I intend to cut them at once. Just watch me closely. So I've divided my pattern into 2. So one side is the front, the other side is the back. So I'm going further to further mark the points that I marked initially, the hip line, the crotch line, and the knee line. After that, I want to take the midpoint of one of the side. The knee line, hip line, crotch line, and this is the waistline. After that, on this other side, I'm going to go out by 1 inch. This is the hip region. Then I'm going to curve it up until the crotch line, like this. Once that is over, on this midpoint, I'm going to go out on both sides by 1/2 inch, which will serve as the dart. Then I'll come down by 4 inches, the dart line, the dart length. This will show how long my dart is going to be on the trouser. So on the crotch line, I will go in by 2 inches. 2 inch. Then I'll measure the 2 inch upward. Then I'll take the midpoint like this. So just take note of the midpoint. So I'm going to take my thigh measurement exactly on the crotch line like this. Then on the knee, I'm going to divide my knee by 2. Then I'm going to mark each of the half this way, like this. Then I'll come down, whatever I have on my knee, I'm going to be subtracting 1 inch out of there. Then I'm measuring this one. After that, I'll just go ahead and connect the points together, the points that I got from the measurement. Can you see that we already have a nice curve on the hip area? So I'm also going to link this point as well. After that, on this point, I'm going to go in on the waistline by 1/2 inch this way. Then I'm going to curve it up until where I mark my 2 inches outside. Make sure you pass through the midpoint. Remember the midpoint that we had earlier? Make sure that the line crosses it this way. So after that, you just connect this line down to the knee line like this. Once that is done, this is the front part of. I went ahead and I taken the waist measurement. I discovered I still have my waist plus an extra 1 inch allowance, and then if I'm sewing it, I'm going to be adding 1.5 inch as the band. So this is the front part. Over to the back part, I'm going to go out by 1/2 inch around the hip curve. Then I'm going to extend the lines, the knee line, the crotch line, and the hip line this way. Once you're done, you also want to make your hip curve around this area like you did for the first one. After that, I'm going to also take the midpoint like I did for the front part. I'm going to mark it like this. I'm going to mark it all the way down so that it can have a straight line down. You're also going to go out on both sides by 1/2 inch for the dart and then 4 inch as well for the dart length. We are replicating all we did for the front parts. Then on my crotch line, I'm going to go out by 2.5. Then I'll do the same on the waistline. Remember that for the front part we went out by 2 inch, but for this back part we are going out by 2.5. After that, on the crotch line, I'm going to take my thigh measurement plus 1. Then on the knee line as well, I'm going to take the knee measurement plus 1. I'll do the same for the down. Whatever I have on the front part, I'm going to add extra 1 inch to the back part like this. Then I'm also still going to link the points together like this. Just follow me carefully, just follow what I'm doing. Very easy to make. Once that is done, you also go out by 1 inch on the waistline. Then you take the midpoint as well like this, and then you also do your curve. This way. So on this crotch line, I'm also going to link it to the knee line as well, like this. Then I'll come down on the waistline for the front. I'll come down by 1 inch and then I'll curve it to go to the side. Like this. So I'm only going to be cutting that part on my fabric. So I went ahead to check for the time measurement, and I discovered I have an excess of 1, which is good for my allowance. Also for the back, there's an excess of 1 inch. So this is a fitted measurement. This is a fitted pant. So if you want to make a fitted pant, a fitted trousers, this is how you are going to go about cutting it for yourself. So our patterns are ready. Over to the back side, I had to add a different extension because I want to add more allowances. So in case you didn't add enough allowance to the front when you were cutting initially, this is an avenue for you to try to manipulate allowance to enter into your patterns. So I went out, I had to extend the crotch line, then I went out by 1.5 inch on the crotch line. Then to the nail I went out by 1 inch, and then the down part I went out by 1 inch. So on the crotch line, from the crotch line I'm going to be joining the points together like this, just like we've been doing. Once this is done, on the crotch line I'm going to come down by 1/2 inch this way. Then I'm going to link it upwards like this. This is a provision if you're plus size, or you're bigger on the butt area, or your hip is big, or you don't like your pants fitted at the hip area. You can just go ahead and do this. This will be a perfect one for you. So I'm done. You can see the allowance, the extra allowance there. Then these are the both patterns for the front and the back with the allowance from the back side. Then for the front pattern, you can see that I came down by 1 inch. This 1 inch, I'm going to be cutting it on the fabric, not on the pattern. So when I lay the front on the back, you can see there's excess allowance. So in case you don't have much allowance on your front pattern, this is an opportunity for you to measure up for the shortage of allowance. So guys, see you in my next video.